gumption. It's become my new favorite word and what I hope to embody. The dictionary defines it as spirited initiative and resourcefulness. I'm going to share with you a quick passage from this book called Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. The following words are from Robert Pirsig, not myself, but he says it as best as anyone could. I like the word gumption because it's so homely and so forlorn and so out of style, it looks as if it needs a friend and isn't likely to reject anyone who comes along. It's an old Scottish word, once used a lot by pioneers, but which, like kin, seems to have all but dropped out of use. I like it also because it describes exactly what happens to someone who connects with quality. He gets filled with gumption. The Greeks call it enthusiasmos, or the root of enthusiasm, which means literally filled with theos, or God, or quality. A person filled with gumption doesn't sit around dissipating and stewing about things. He's at the front of the train of his own awareness, watching to see what's up the track and meeting it when it comes. The gumption filling process occurs when one is quiet long enough to see and hear and feel the real universe, not just one's own stale opinions about it. But it's nothing exotic. That's why I like the word. You see it often in people who return from long, quiet fishing trips. Often they're a little defensive about having put so much time to no account because there's no intellectual justification for what they've been doing. But the returned fisherman usually has a peculiar abundance of gumption, usually for the very same things he was sick to death of a few weeks before. He hasn't been wasting time. It's only our limited cultural viewpoint that makes it seem so. If you're going to repair a motorcycle, an adequate supply of gumption is the first and most important tool. If you haven't got that, you might as well gather up all the other tools and put them away, because they won't do you any good. Gumption is the psychic gasoline that keeps the whole thing going. But if you haven't got it, there's no way the motorcycle can possibly be fixed. But if you have got it and know how to keep it, there's absolutely no way in this world that motorcycle can keep from getting fixed. It's bound to happen. Therefore, the thing that must be monitored at all times and preserved before anything else is the gumption. Now that we know what the word gumption is, I'm going to share 5 different moments this past month that I have acted in a gumptious way or really leaned into the gumption that I don't always show. Okay, so I'm in a class called Philosophy and Logic, and it was a random Tuesday night during lecture when my professor was up there writing a derivation problem on the board, and before he gave us the free reins to execute and figure out the problem, he said, "Don't be surprised if you get stuck. The only important thing is to get unstuck." For some reason, that really clicked in my brain, and I sent myself an email with that in the subject line, just so I wouldn't forget that phrase. I thought about the phrase overnight, and I started thinking about how that approach to problem solving and that recognition that it's okay that you're going to get stuck, to normalize that stuckness, normalize that failure. I say that as something fell off my desk, but I'm gonna keep going. Because I'm doing this gumption project, I started writing and I published those thoughts for anyone and everyone to see. In writing about such a mundane moment in my class was a way for me to express gumption. I was in our rec center's locker room getting ready after I had done a workout, and I saw this girl getting ready and she was curling her hair, and her hair looked so nice. I wanted to compliment her. We get out of this practice of complimenting each other, and I do it too. I don't want to bother them. I don't know, there's some hesitancy there, and so I go up to her. She kind of looks at me, takes her AirPod out and says, "Hey, oh, sorry, am I in your way?" And I said, "No, I just wanted to say I really like your hair." And then I asked her where she got her curling iron from, because I was looking for a curling iron because I was going to the men's basketball Final Four tournament in Houston the next week, and I wanted a curling iron. So she told me. After that, I proceeded to buy that curling iron right off of Amazon. And and here's that curling iron. Now, this is a pretty silly example, but I still think it's gumptious because I kind of got outside my comfort zone, went up to a stranger and gave them a compliment, which is something that I don't see myself do as much as I potentially should. I sent out a survey for a product I had built. I have a mindset journal, and I recognized how slow my product iteration cycle was, and I wasn't as close to the customer as I needed to be. I still had this perfectionistic loop where it had to be the best survey possible to get the best data possible, or else it wasn't even worth sending out. I had this all or nothing mentality, and so the idea stayed in my head. The draft had never gone out. And when with this Gumption project coming up, I said, you know what, screw it. I need to get this survey out. So I sat in the library for like 5 hours, got the logic set up with the survey, and finally clicked send. That was a moment that I really had to push myself to do, but I'm very glad I did it, and I've already gotten some good data from it. It was a really nice day out on Thursday. I'm sitting out on the student union lawn, and I see my friend Madeline, who runs a sustainability fashion swap shop on campus, going around asking people and recording them on video what their Yukon fit was. It was this like Yukon Wears video campaign, and I thought it was so much fun, so cool to see her just really be herself, talk to people, start these conversations. And as I was laying on the lawn, I was like, wow, I want to do that and ask people about small wins. I want to start that dialogue. I had done it before at a couple events on campus, but I had never done it recording because I am not the most comfortable in front of a camera, and I feel like I just wasn't the type of person who could do that. So I laid on the lawn and I was like, oh, immediately my first thought was, let me do this senior year. I think this would be a good goal for me to do senior year. And as I was laying on the lawn by myself, I was like, what the heck? I started thinking to myself, like, why was my immediate response just to push this off to some arbitrary date? Because like senior year, I'm going to feel just as nervous to do it. I'm not going to feel probably any more ready. And I said, you know what? Tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day. Everyone's going to be out on the lawn. Now is the time that I have to do this. And I really had to not be lame and prove to myself that I was the type of person who could practice gumption. So Friday came, I asked my friend to man the camera, and we went around asking people about their small wins. And I'm about to show you the footage in a sec. Keep in mind, it is not perfect by any means. I did it, and that's what I'm really proud of myself for. And the next time I do something like this, it's going to be a little better because I'm going to know where I went wrong and what I was being stupidly inefficient about before. So without further ado, here are some campus small wins.
Okay, what's a small win you've had recently that you want to celebrate?
Probably being close to graduating. I only got one semester left.
I made my bed today.
Woo! Congrats.
Thank you.
A small win I'm proud of. I've been hitting the gym consistently now for the last week, so I'm looking to the progress that's going to come from that.
Let's go, congrats.
I've been exercising and training for a half marathon.
Good for you. When's the marathon?
June 4th.
Congrats.
I just recently got my first job offer, so yeah.
Let's go.
Yesterday I played a pickup basketball game with my friends and I made a shot that I shot.
Let's go. A shot that I shot.
Shot that I shot.
Nice.
Yes.
Congrats. What's a small win you're proud of?
I started a book that's been on my list for like over a month.
What's the book?
It's called Crescent City.
Okay.
It's by Sarah J. Maas.
Yay, congrats.
Thanks.
I woke up early enough this morning to go to a yoga class.
I worked out today. Pretty happy.
What workout did you do?
Hit chest.
Yeah, let's go. Congrats. Okay, what's a small win you're proud of?
I got to blow bubbles today.
Let's go.
One small win that I'm proud of is that I've been consistently going to the gym and pushing myself, even though I'd be struggling, but I like it.
Okay, what's a small win you're proud of?
I finally cleaned my room today.
Yeah, let's go. What about you?
I actually made breakfast and I ate it.
Congrats.
Okay, before I share my last Gumption story, I need to tell you about two different people who are the same age as me. Both met them at UConn. They are living out their best lives, and they are real, true examples of lived gumption. First is my friend Raina. She started a company to save the bees back in high school, and we're in the same entrepreneurship program our freshman year. She recently dropped out. She's a Teal Fellow, which in the startup world is incredibly impressive, prestigious cohort to be a part of for young, driven entrepreneurs. She has so many gumptious stories from me talking to her, but I'm going to share with you this little excerpt from an interview I did with her.
I started making these recipes in my mom's kitchen, and I'd wake up at 3 a.m. when my parents were still asleep. I'd hop in the car at 4 and I'd start driving around to Whole Foods. For some reason, my mind was set on Whole Foods. I'm not too sure why. They were like probably the hardest retailer to get into, but they were also the most prestigious. And so I'd hopped in my car and I started with these samples with bottles that I dumped out from the competitor and labels from Staples. And I started pitching to retailers. I walked into a Whole Foods and I asked the person who pushes the cart, hey, do you know how I can get my product on the shelf?
No.
And I really got no idea. I just got to push these carts. And I asked the store manager and they said, I don't know. I asked the cashier, they said, I asked the bagging person. And so after I exhausted all the options in that store, I hopped out and went to another store. And I would be back before 11 a.m. when my parents woke up so they wouldn't see that I was gone. And I did that every single day until I hit 110 Whole Foods, which is every single Whole Foods in the Northeast and North Atlantic area. In the meantime, I'd also visited CVS and Walgreens and ShopRite and anything I possibly could because I was so desperate. I still remember when I was first getting started, I heard my first no and I just kind of went into the car and I crippled down and just cried. And it's actually weird like saying the story because I feel like I've forgotten a lot of pain that I went through. Maybe purposely, maybe not, but it was, if I were to say what was the most difficult period of your life, I think it would probably be that. I found that college wasn't a good fit for me, and I found I wasn't a good fit as an employee. And so the only card was, you better be successful at this or you're going to be on the streets.
I agree with your point that hard work alone, it's not a surefire way for success. I think serendipity plays a big role in it. And like, what I've been thinking through, and you do an excellent job of actually living these principles out, is like, how can you increase your surface area for luck? How can you increase the chances of that serendipity? And that's by executing. That's by deviating from the normal path. And it's like, that's also through persistence. If you had stopped after the second, third Whole Foods, the second, third crying session in the parking lot, then you would have never gotten to that part where luck played a role in your success.
That's an interesting point. There's this really good article by Mark Andreessen, but I think this type of luck was definitely the second one, which is just through sheer force, which is kind of what you need when you get started in any career. And as you build experience, you can kind of shift to the third type of luck, which is more specialized knowledge and getting better opportunities just based off of your public presence.
Last spring semester, I remember so vividly, it was my first like real upfront ugly rejection on a Zoom call's first day of spring semester classes. I had pitched a superintendent to get my product integrated with the students at the school, and he told me, you're just lucky you got on a call with me, like flat out rejected me. And it was so rough. And I remember crying in my dorm room, and then I FaceTimed you. And can you share what the Ray Dalio principle was that you had said helped you as you dealt with similar like setbacks and failures?
His whole kind of motto is failure plus progress equals perfection. You make that fall into an opportunity to win, and you kind of loop it around. Now when you're failing, you fail, but you fail at a level higher than you were before.
Is there a certain trait, be it gumption or something else, that you look for in others when you're finding people to like form your inner circle of friends and peers and supporters?
Humility, obviously drive, but I wouldn't say that's a key thing. Humility, self-awareness, and comparing themselves to their previous being, not others.
Okay, the next person you're going to hear is Achintya. I also met him through UConn, and he is now working at NASA as an engineer, which is mind blown because he's only 20 years old, and he is the type of person who does gumptious things.
He said, hey, I'm going to a conference. And I'm like, oh, cool. And he was like, yeah, you'll get to meet a lot of people. It's pretty cool. I'm presenting. I'm like, cool, where is it? And he said it was in Dubai. I'm like, oh.
Did you have any hesitancy when you heard it was in Dubai?
I was definitely somewhat hesitant. Like, it's an expensive trip for something that I don't even know anything about. Everyone that was in the space industry was there. This would be my chance to kind of like really explore and put myself out there and and challenge myself. I was a speaker at the conference in the Human Spaceflight Symposium, speaking next to like NASA directors and professionals in the field. I think a lot of people will give up on things before they even have a chance at getting somewhere with it because they get discouraged or they get put down by like failures or whatever. If you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a cut. If everyone went to the gym thinking they're going to get a six-pack tomorrow morning, they're never going to go to the gym, right? Like, it has to be incorporated in your lifestyle. Yeah, you should keep like those goals, like tangible goals, because then you could work in the wrong directions or work to no end, because there's no point in working hard if you're not working smart.
Point number 5 was me literally buying a car, which is insane. Okay, so naturally I recorded a pretty scrappy little video in my car reflecting on the experience the first night I drove it back to campus. So let's roll the clip. I found out that this car existed back in middle school. I remember early high school, I had put it on my Pinterest vision board. A Volvo XC60. Tell me why I was obsessed with these, I'm not sure. But I love the design. Maybe this is a car that if I work hard enough, I can afford in my late 20s. Right? I'm thinking this back in high school. I'm more apt to notice when a Volvo XC60 is driving by. I'm more apt to point out, oh, hey, is that the color I like? Oh, is that model? Is that an XC60, XC90? And it keeps this concept of my dream car, this goal that I have, as silly as it may be of a car, still a goal, have that top of mind, and it keeps it top of mind as I keep interacting with my environment. There's something Jordan Peterson talks about that I find really interesting, and he says that the world bends in accordance with your aims. This is my Gumption car, right? My Gumption, this is the spring project for this purpose class, and I earned the money to pay for this car myself due to a bunch of micro acts of gumption. This is like a really big responsibility for me, and it's something that I'm just incredibly grateful that I can do right now. It feels so cool once you can actually accomplish said goal that you've been thinking about for a long time. It's a confidence builder that there's other things I want to do, and like what's stopping me from doing them. I've really been unpacking what this traditional narrative of success looks like and really how I can go about living my life with purpose. And gumption, I think, is at the root of this purpose. If you have something you want to do that's going to add to a purposeful life, add and deliver purpose to others, inspire yourself by proving out your own competencies and having these small wins, you can't get those ideas done if you don't have this certain level of gumption. I found another definition of gumption that speaks to the relationship this word has with fear. So Macmillan Dictionary defines it as sensible, brave behavior in difficult situation. Bravery is an interesting concept, and I recently read Courage is Calling, a Stoic book by Ryan Holiday. I'm going to leave you with this Ryan Holiday quote. All growth is a leap in the dark. If you're afraid of that, you'll never do anything worthwhile. Put yourself in a position that demands you leap. Purpose to me looks like laying your head on the pillow at the end of a long, tiring, demanding day and being able to admit to yourself wholly and honestly that you practiced gumption, that you honed gumption, that you exuded this gumptious personality that will inspire you tomorrow and inspires others around you today.